I see. I was at Waffle House today. They had city ham, which I've never heard of before, and they just gave it to me. It was just a piece of ham. I don't understand why it was called city ham. Yeah, like usually it says country ham. Like, I don't know, somebody at Waffle House was like, too many people are in the cities now. They can't relate to our country ham. We're going to call it city ham.
That's wild.
Yeah, it was just a piece of ham. It came out. I was expecting, all kinds of things. It was like, this is a fast-moving city ham. I gotta look cool for this city ham. It's gonna
have a photo op with it and everything.
That's right. All right, we're talking about chickens. So chickens can be male or female. Is this correct? I didn't know this until recently. I thought all chickens were girls. But so a rooster is a chicken, right?
Yes.
And a hen is a chicken.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. That's the end of the panel.
Panel, guys, you can leave now.
Here's the parts of the chicken. See, I don't know the parts of the pig, but the chicken's got a beak. He's got a wattle. It's got a hock, a shank. I like it. The web. I've had a chicken foot before. You can cook chicken feet. There, in my grocery store, they have like at the end of one of the aisles, they have all the meats, you could buy, all prepackaged. And then in one, like the end of it, it's like all the stuff that most people don't want to eat. So it's like pig's feet and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And they had chicken feet. And I was like, well, I'm going to make some chicken feet. And so I went on YouTube and I watched a couple of videos on how to cook them. And the one that I saw that was the one I used was put them in a crock pot, season them. They were all right. They taste sort of like the skin on chicken. It's sort of that flavor. It's not that texture really, but it was like that flavor. But I put them in a crock pot for like 8 hours. And so I'm watching on YouTube, and there's this lady, and she's like, everybody said to cook them in a crock pot, but I don't want to do that. I'm gonna try my own thing. I want to make them like crispy chicken legs, and so she deep fried them. Problem is, there's like nothing on them. There's nothing to eat on them. There's so little. So the whole video is her biting into them, going, "Oh, that was a bad idea. This is bad. Oh, I'm sorry. This is bad." And it's like, at no point during this did she say, maybe I scrapped this video. Maybe I just stopped.
Yeah.
There's. All right. So we're going to talk about a lot of chickens in movies, television, anime, video games, everything. All the chickens we can. There's a lot more chickens in pop culture than you'd realize. The very first chicken story that's very popular was Chanticleer the fox. It's a fable about this fox who has this crow that he's talking to, and there's a chicken in the barnyard, and the fox is trying to dupe the chicken. There's been many retellings of this, but this is the oldest one. The most famous retelling is Rock-a-Doodle, which follows nothing of the original story other than taking the name of Chanticleer. But has anybody ever seen Rock-a-Doodle? Oh man, somebody. All right, thank goodness. Rock-a-Doodle is great. Let me just show you a little bit of the animation style.
Chanticleer was the name of the book. But Don didn't want to do it just like the old fairy tale. He wanted to give it a new twist. And we were thinking of Chanticleer being something different than just a rooster that raises the sun when he crows. So
He's talking about Don Bluth, who did also Secret of Nim and Fievel, American Tail. That was like, there was a time period in like right before Little Mermaid came out where Don Bluth, his studio, they would release their movies. Land Before Time was another one. They'd release them on the same day as Disney movies, and they'd outgross the Disney movies. So, Disney was having a lot of trouble until Little Mermaid came out, and then after Little Mermaid, I think, is Rescuers Down Under, which wasn't a huge hit, but after that it was like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin. It was like all the movies everybody's familiar with. So but anyway, they took this and made this Rock-a-Doodle. I'll show you just
around this idea and came up with maybe this rooster could also be a great singer, and we were wondering who was one of the best singers to ever live, and that's when we came up with the persona of Elvis Presley.
Ladies and gentlemen, 80s Palace proudly presents
you gotta check this out. It's a rooster singing Elvis songs for an hour and 10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you look at that?
Chanticleer?
Well, down into below.
All right, that's a thing. So, all right, I'm going to tell you about next. what I believe to be the most famous chicken in the history of movies and television. Does anybody want to take a guess as to what chicken it is? All right, nobody wants to guess. Good.
Chicken Little.
Chicken Little's good, but I don't think he's most famous. I think Foghorn Leghorn is the most famous. His first appearance was in the Henry Hawk short. So Henry Hawk was a little guy down there. You see that he's talking to. Henry was a little tiny chicken, but he believed he was a big chicken. And so he would boss around Foghorn Leghorn. Foghorn Leghorn was performed by Mel Blanc and has been performed by a bunch of different people. I know Bill Farmer did him. Is Bill Farmer at this show? Do you know? I don't know. He might be. He's done a lot of these type of shows. This character, Foghorn Leghorn, was based. The name and the voice were ripped off from, and they did this a lot with the Hanna-Barbera and the other studio films at that time. They would take a famous character and they'd steal either their voice or whatever. And this was, there was a famous character who was on radio who was named Senator Cleghorn. And Senator Cleghorn talked exactly the way Foghorn does. I say. And I'm going to show you a clip. They did a feature film version of the Senator Cleghorn character, and here is a scene from it, and you'll hear immediately this was not the same actor that did the voice for Foghorn Leghorn, but the guy doing Foghorn Leghorn, which would have been Mel Blanc, was doing an impression of this character Kenny Del Mar was playing in this movie.
The northern man, a southern girl married to a northerner. Why, George, their children will be half-breeds. What? Leghorn, we haven't got all day. That's a joke, son. Half-breed. Southern girl married to a northerner. Quiet.
It's a joke,
I
son.
haven't even begun to...
That was his big catchphrase was "It's a joke, son," and that was the name of the movie. So Foghorn Leghorn, I think the most popular chicken in pop culture, which is kind of sad because Foghorn Leghorn is one of the least popular characters in the Looney Tunes. You know, it's like of the Looney Tunes characters, you know, he's kind of a, you know, like we'll see in a second, his appearance in Space Jam is pretty short. He wasn't one of the top tier ones. He did appear in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but for like a second. He was one of the characters when they're all standing around towards the end when the walls come down. He does appear in Space Jam. He's got some scenes, but again, I feel like he wasn't even a starter. This I love. I love that Foghorn Leghorn, at one point, they were able to pay him enough that he would sell chicken. I like that he was just like, he was like, well, if you give me enough money, I'll do it. Here's Cow and Chicken, 1997, yes. Cartoon Network. Nominated for 2 Emmy Awards. The Adventures of a Cow and a Chicken. I like this. I like this a lot. Here's a Super Nintendo game, kind of underrated. Not bad, though. Alfred Chicken. This was ported to a handful of different systems, but this is the Super Nintendo version. And you can see what it looked like. You'd be a little chicken. You'd run around. Here's an old-timey chicken, Billina. This was a character in the books, The Wizard of Oz. Now, Billina didn't make her way into the first Wizard of Oz famous movie. There were other Wizard of Oz movies prior to that, but she appears in the books and basically was like Toto. It was, you know, this chicken went around everywhere with Dorothy Gale. This is this was a silent movie. It was kind of the first like mixed media presentation ever. It's a lost film, but it was called The Fairy Log and Radio Plays. And what happened was they would have this movie that they shot, but then they'd also have live actors on stage that would do like a live action version of the story after. So it would be like you'd see a movie and you'd see a play with the same characters at the same time. So it was kind of neat. It's lost. Nobody has it anymore, unfortunately. But it was pretty cool. It was pretty neat. Here is Return to Oz. So Billina appears in Return to Oz. You guys ever see this? No, you should see Return to Oz. Return to Oz is also a good movie. That's a young Fairuza Balk. Fairuza Balk was played Dorothy in this. This was a Disney movie. It was weird. I liked it a lot, though. All right, here's your Pokemon, Blaziken. Blaziken is a Pokemon chicken. He's a chicken, right? That's a chicken. But I like that everybody's like, yeah, I guess so. I guess. I guess I'll allow it. Here's another old story. The Little Red Hen. This was a story that would tell about the value of work ethic. I believe it was like the chicken was doing all the work and everybody else was like, we don't want to do any work. And she was like, I'm going to make a pie. I'm going to do this. And then when all the food was ready, she got to eat it. And the rest of them were like, hey, can I have some? And she was like, nope, you didn't help, you know. And what's interesting about the Little Red Hen is Disney animated a short version of it, and that was the first appearance of Donald Duck. So Donald Duck's first appearance is in this. He refuses to help her. He's too lazy. He laughs at her, and then she's like, "Hey, I made this food. I'm gonna eat it," and he cries at the end or whatever. But yeah, it's the first Donald Duck short was involving a chicken. Here's Donald Duck with his pals, Pancho Pistoles and the Three Caballeros. He's a rooster, so it's a rooster right there. He's pretty cool. He's got 2 guns. He's got a ride at Disney. You can see him in the Grand Fiesta Tour, starring the Three Caballeros. It replaced El Rio del Tiempo. Anybody's ever been to Epcot?
Yeah, I have.
You've
but
been
we
there.
didn't do that
You didn't do
ride.
this ride?
No.
Yeah, it's in the Mexico Pavilion. What was great was it used to be a non-Donald Duck ride, right? It used to be just this travelogue would take you through Mexico. And before they added the Three Caballeros, you could bring a margarita on the ride. And it was the only ride at Disney that you could bring alcohol on because they sold the margaritas right outside of it. So that was the best ride ever. I mean, especially like your 3rd or 4th go-round. Woo! You guys mentioned Chicken Little. Chicken Little was great. 2005. Classic film. Chicken Little, good to see you. Chicken Little, I remember this because at the time, 2005, I was out in California and they had a giant billboard on the side of a building of Chicken Little's butt. And it was like every time I drove by, I was like, there's Chicken Little's butt. And this was during a weird time where a lot of movies just put butts on the posters. Chicken Little did it, Piglet's Big Movie did it, and then this movie Racing Stripes did it. Has anybody ever seen Racing Stripes?
No.
This was like the U.S. poster. U.S. poster, they were like, hey, we've already got, there's a piglet butt on another poster. There's a chicken, too many butts. We're going to go with the front of the horse. Other countries, though, like Argentina, what they did was they put his butt and his face, which I don't know how he twisted his way to do that. They called it Reyes. That was the title there. This is a funny little movie. It's a live-action movie about a talking zebra who tries to become a racing horse. But they had other names for it. It was called Zigzag in France. And then in Norway, they didn't put a butt on the cover. Like this one, they put extra butts. Like there's horse butts there. But in Norway, they didn't put any butts on it, but they changed the name to Fart Striper, which I think may be the best movie name ever. All right, so Chicken Little, not the first Disney Chicken Little. This other one was the first time they did it. This was 1943. This was a World War II short, and it was based on the fable Henny Penny, and it's about it is an anti-Nazi propaganda film that was made for the U.S. audiences to watch around World War II. So I'm going to show you a little clip from the end of it. It's quite an ending. This is
to look upon themselves as born leaders.
Let's see.
Unquote. Now's your chance, kid. They'll listen to you now. You were born to be a leader. Go do it.
Listen to me, everybody. I'm your new leader. I'm gonna save your lives. I'm gonna tell you what to do.
Don't listen to that pipsqueak. The sky isn't falling.
I tell you this too, falling.
And I tell you it isn't.
This too.
All right. If the sky is falling, why doesn't it hit me on the head?
Chicken Little is right. What'll we do? Oh, Chicken Little, you've got to help us.
Run to the cave.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's it, to the cave. To the cave. Out the cave. Hurry.
All right, wait for it. There's quite a payoff here.
served.
Don't worry, folks. This all turns out all right.
Delicious.
Hey, wait a minute. This isn't right. That's not the way it ends in my book.
Oh, yeah? Don't believe everything you read, brother.
And that's how it ended. My goodness.
I like that.
You imagine the traumatized children that are in the theater, ready to check out their film.
I like that one.
It was something. All right.
Disney's?
Yeah, it was a Disney animated film shown in theaters.
Disney did that.
Yeah, Disney. The Walt Disney Company.
Walt Disney Company did that.
Yeah. Chicken Run. Anybody remember Chicken Run? I like this. This is good.
Yeah,
This is funny. Mel Gibson. Julia Swahila. She was the main voice. I guess she probably is a British actress. She's probably on some very famous British show. But this is a good movie. I really like this. This was a fun movie. He had a couple movies. He had the Wallace and Gromit movie right around the same time. I thought this was good. Here's a weird one. Burger King had a chicken to promote their restaurant for a while, and it was hideous. It was this hideous chicken costume. They called it the Subservient Chicken, and it was launched as a website. This is back in 2004, and you could type in just about anything and the chicken would do it. And it was done the way they do a lot of stuff, but they figured out how many things they could group together under different umbrellas. So if you told him to lay an egg, he would, but there were a lot of things that he could do. A lot of things he could do, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of commands. So, and he was like in this weird living room, and he also appeared in some of the commercials. And he appeared in the Xbox Burger King games. So there was a brief time where Burger King had Xbox games. You ever play these?
What you're talking about. I love that game.
There's 3 of them. So there's Pocket Racers, Big Bumpin', which he's in, and then there's Sneak King, which is the greatest one. Yeah, he's not in Sneak King, but Sneak King, I have almost beat Sneak King. There's one mission I can't get. The idea behind Sneak King is you're the king from Burger King, and you're walking around, and you have to sneak up on hungry people and give them like a breakfast sandwich, and if you don't, they pass out. But if they see you, they get all excited and point at you, and they don't eat. So, and they no longer pass out. But it's a great game, but the last mission on it was like, you got to feed like 10 people in sequential order without any of them catching you, and my God. I want to talk about the San Diego chicken. This San Diego chicken was really popular. 1974, this character originated in a commercial for KGB FM radio in San Diego. Then he became like the unofficial mascot for the Padres, and he appeared on the show The Baseball Bunch with Johnny Bench, which was a really cool show. The Kool-Aid Man was also on it. All right, take your son and get out of here.
There's another hot cosplayer.
Go see the hot cosplayer. The Baseball Bunch with Johnny Bench also had the chicken on it. The chicken was everywhere. Here's the chicken on with David Letterman. Here's the chicken in a commercial with Ronald McDonald.
Chicken, we can both have a ball. Come on. Well, let's march us to the arches, because everyone has a ball at McDonald's.
The chicken was Ronald Reagan's vice president. No, that's not true. But the chicken did have a weird political connection. He was called KGB, the KGB chicken originally because he was for KGB FM radio in San Diego. And so he had this, what's that?
There's a lot of different chickens.
There's a lot of chickens out there. We got even more coming. But he showed up.
Mascots.
He showed up when Gerald Ford was at the airport, and Gerald Ford thought that this chicken was so funny, he went over and took a picture with him. Well, the next thing you know, the people at the Kremlin are looking at this picture of the U.S. president with a chicken that says KGB across the front of his shirt, and they don't understand what this message is supposed to be, but they don't like it. And so it almost started World War III. President Theodore Roosevelt had multiple chickens. He had a hen named Baron Speckle, and he had a one-legged rooster, which is right there. He never named his one-legged rooster, but he had a one-legged rooster. I'm going to tell you about a bizarre story out of, I think it was like Fruita, Colorado, but it was some small town in Colorado. A man had a chicken, cut the head off, to kill the chicken, and chicken never died. So what they feel was that he lived for 18 months and he only died because he choked to death while they were trying to feed him. But what they feel happened was that enough of the brainstem of the chicken was left intact when they cut the head off. And so this chicken just didn't die. They cut his head off and they set him down. They said sometimes chickens will move around a little bit after their head's cut off, but not for long, right? But this chicken, like an hour later, is still walking around, just pecking at the ground without a head, and just had no idea it had no head, just wandering around, acting like everything was totally normal. So the owner said, well, I don't know what to do now. So he took the chicken into the house and he got an eyedropper and he would feed the chicken right through the hole in its neck. And then chicken lived a day, 2 days, 3 days. And so now he's like, wow, I got this headless chicken. I'm going to take it on tour. So he traveled the country, he left the farm, traveled the country with this headless chicken. People would pay big bucks to go see this chicken. And it wasn't until one day they were in the hotel room and he was feeding the chicken. He said the chicken started to choke on the food, and there's no way to Heimlich a chicken back then, so the chicken had to go. But that's Mike the Headless Chicken. He lived from April of 1945 to March of 1947. So he had a good run as a headless chicken. This is Super Chicken. Super Chicken was an animated series. There's another animated series called Pepito Chiquito, which was a Walter Lantz animal cartoon character. He did he had a title card, which usually back then if you had an animated short that was in theaters, had a title card, there were going to be a bunch of them. But there was only one Pepito Chiquito short in 1957 called The Bongo Punch. Gino the Chicken is a popular internet meme and celebrity in Italy. I'm going to show you a little bit of Gino the Chicken.
L'effetto deterritorializzante prodotto dalle nuove tecnologie di informazione e comunicazione rende obsoleta la forma pollo a due occhi così come noi la conosciamo? Ripeto, l'effetto deterritorializzante prodotto dalle nuove tecnologie di informazione e comunicazione rende obsoleta la forma pollo a due occhi così come noi la conosciamo?
So I don't know, this is a popular show in Italy. Here's Egghead Jr. He's another Looney Tunes character. There he is eating this. Anybody remember U.S. Acres? U.S. Acres had the egg that walked around. I always liked the egg, Sheldon. Sheldon the egg. This would be U.S. Acres was from John Davis, the creator of Garfield, and so it was split. Garfield and then U.S. Acres was the other cartoon that was shown on that. Here is Calimero. This is a 1963, as you can see, Italian-Japanese animated short or film about a chicken. He was the only black chicken in his farm. All the other chickens were yellow. He wore an eggshell on his head. He was real popular. Popular chicken. They liked him. Hey, speaking of chicken, Colonel Sanders. Colonel Sanders, great man, had not one but two comic books over the years. And in both comic book series, so like one of these, like the 60s or 70s, the other one's like 2020, they're both about an imposter colonel. Both comic books, the plot, like this one, you got like the DC comic characters going to save it, but the other one, it's the not so great imposter, and there's his chicken. It's finger licking good. KFC actually sent chickens into outer space. They had chickens. They wanted to send chicken eggs into space and see what happens when eggs hatch in outer space. So they sent up this box with eggs. Now, the first time they sent it up, it was on the Challenger, which was one that broke apart. So they sent it up again on another launch of one of the other space shuttles. Chicken eggs went up there, eggs hatched. They brought them down. They put the chickens on display at the Kentucky Zoo, and they found that chickens hatch in outer space pretty much the same as they do here, and they live. Nothing happens to them. They get no superpowers. They can't float when they come to Earth. So it really was kind of a useless experiment. But I'm assuming that a lot of what they do when they're on the space shuttle is, it's got to be like a big portion of that is, I'd like you to pick your nose so we can see what it's like to pick your nose in space. We want to, we're going to see what it's like. We're going to throw liquid in the sky and then drink it, and all the weird, like a lot of that stuff has to be just, let's see what happens. And chickens were born. This is the Big Chicken. This is a restaurant in Marietta, Georgia. It was purchased by KFC. It originally was a Johnny Reb's restaurant, but they went out of business. KFC purchased it, and they kept the chicken. They actually spent a couple $1 million to restore the chicken. So the Big Chicken, you can go, if you're ever out there, you can see that. Have you ever heard the expression rose-colored glasses? Somebody, he looks at things with rose-colored glasses. Now, this is going to sound unbelievable, but here's the reason that expression exists. There was a time when they sold special glasses that you would put on your chicken to keep the chickens from fighting. Because what they said was that chickens, when they see blood, this is quackery, I'm sure, but it did exist. And they said when chickens would see blood, they would all peck at them. They'd be like, oh, there's blood, let's go peck. So he said if we could put little tiny glasses on the chicken won't be able to see the blood because the glasses have a red tint to them. So that chicken, if there's any blood, chickens won't fight each other. And so these are the actual ads for this. This was a thing. It existed. They were sold for a while, but now they're gone. All right. The oldest joke in the world. Why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? This is like a non-joke, but it's like the first joke every child learns. It just has no, it started in 1847 in a magazine called The Knickerbocker, and for whatever reason, I believe it's the most popular joke in the United States. But yeah, why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Atari made a video game about this. 1981, Activision's Freeway, where you're a chicken, you're trying to get across the road. Here's a great video. This is Rufus Thomas, who you should look up Rufus Thomas when you get home. You need more Rufus Thomas in your life. But here he is singing "Do the Funky Chicken."
Put your left arm up, right on cue. I'm gonna tell you what you got to do. Flop your wings. Stop kicking. Now you know you're doing the funky chicken.
This was a top 5 hit. Do the Funky Chicken. The other famous chicken song. I've always heard the chicken song that people do at weddings and stuff. I always heard that. I thought it was around forever, but it actually didn't become popular until the 80s. The song was originally released in the 50s, but there was like a re-release in the 80s that became a hit, and then every wedding had it for a while. But that was this one. And check out these weird Donald Duck masks. This was on British television. I like the hot girls on the table just dancing the chicken dance. Here's another sign. This Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens. This was a hit for Louis Jordan, and I'm going to show you a version of this song that was performed on the Muppet Show, and I thought this was pretty great.
There ain't nobody here but us chickens. There ain't nobody here at all. You're stomping around, you're shaking the ground, you're raising up a powerful gust.
We chickens is trying to sleep, and you bust in.
And hobble, 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 it's a sin.
Tomorrow is a busy day. We got things to do.
The last thing I want to talk about is Gonzo's weird relationship with Camilla the chicken. Gonzo's in love with the chicken. Gonzo's or whatever. But here's an interesting scene. This is from the Muppet Show.
Camilla. Camilla. The mighty Rostella, Stella, Camilla. You're prettier by far than Godzilla. Camilla. Who are you?
Huh? Me?
Wow. Perfection incarnate. Wow. Statuesque.
and yet still poultry in every sense.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't think when you got here that this would end with Gonzo hitting on Big Bird, but that's how it ends. Whoa, got a big truck coming by. Well, I hope you enjoyed this. I'm here all weekend. If you will, I'm on YouTube under the name Pointless Nostalgia. Please subscribe. I do a new video every day at 2 o'clock. Just posted one earlier today where I went to in Pennsylvania. There is a former grocery store that Mr. Rogers did an episode at. So I went over there, showed what the store looks like now. It's not a grocery store anymore. It's a consignment shop. But every day, 2 o'clock, brand new video. More of this stuff. So, all right, guys. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Yeah, chicken.
Chickens forever.